Spencer Silverman is our next speaker. He's Chief of Staff at the Federal Department of Energy's Advanced Research Projects Agency, where he oversees the department's next generation energy technologies. Spencer has his degree from the Franklin and Marshall College. Alvin, nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me, absolutely. Well, that couldn't be a better ending of that last speech, that Americans, in fact, do want more energy, to lead into what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm going to give you an overview of where we are on the American tech stack in energy and what the federal government and what the Trump administration is doing to ensure that we have a robust and flourishing ecosystem. But to set the stage about what RPE is, 20 years ago, a group of scientists and business leaders sat down at the national academies and wrote a warning to the country. It was called Rising Above the Gathering Storm. And it said plainly that America was losing its scientific and technological edge as other nations poured money into research and engineering at a pace we could not match. The report's answer was to build something modeled on the Pentagon's DARPA, an agency behind the internet and GPS, but aimed at energy instead of defense. And guess what? Congress listened. In 2007, the America Competes Act created ARPA-E. In 2009, we opened our doors. Let me give you a basic picture of the agency. ARPA-E stands for the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Energy. We are small, we are fast, and pound for pound, we punch above our weight inside DOE. Our program directors serve limited terms, so the agency stays agile instead of settling into bureaucracy. We don't do basic research like the national laboratories, and we don't stick to one type of technology like the other program offices at DOE. We've put over $4 billion into more than 1,800 projects since 2009. Of those, 293 have gone to attract $20 billion in private follow-on funding. 188 have become entirely new American companies. And we've seen over $30 billion in exits and IPOs. That history matters because ARPA-E wasn't built to hand out grants. It was built because Congress looked at where this country was headed and decided we needed a federal partner willing to take the risk private capital won't. So America didn't fall further behind in a race already. That's one idea that I want you to leave this room with. When an idea is too early or too risky for private capital, and this country needs someone willing to take that risk first, that's what ARPA-E does. I want to show you where that job stands today, starting with the part of it that decides whether any of this ever actually reaches the market. People sometimes ask where an agency our size fits inside a department that runs 17 national laboratories and tens of billions of dollars in research. ARPA-E is the tip of the spear. We are built to move fast and take the risk nobody else in the enterprise can take. This isn't about beating any other country. It's about making sure America is at the head of the race for scientific and technological leadership. Not just competing in it, but winning in it. And here's what winning that race actually requires. It requires abundant, affordable energy, the kind that keeps American factories running, American data centers powered, and gives this country the edge over our strategic competitors at a moment when energy demand in this country is rising faster than it has in decades. That has been this agency's finish line since 2009, and that's where I want to spend the rest of my time with you today. A good idea in a government lab is not the same as a company on the market. The distance between those things has a name in this business, the valley of death, where technology that works on a lab bench runs out of runway before a bank or a venture fund will ever underwrite it at scale. A lot of the best ideas this country has ever had were lost right there, not because the science failed, but because nobody was willing to take the risk and carry it across the gap. That's not just a side project at ARPA-E. It's what we were formed to do. Every program we run is built around getting a technology across the valley of death and into the marketplace. One of the clearest examples is our Scale-Up program. Since 2019, Scale-Up has taken technologies that already proved themselves in an ARPA-E project and pushed them into a real factory with a real customer and real revenue, raising hundreds of millions of dollars in outside capital and signaling deals with the biggest names in the industry. Earlier this year, we launched Scale-Up Ready. So a promising technology can apply the moment it's ready to scale, instead of waiting for a fixed notice of funding opportunity. That is what commercialization looks like when a federal agency treats it as its central mission, not an afterthought. Congress agrees. In a hearing on Capitol Hill, lawmakers from both parties described RPE's job as bridging the valley of death for breakthrough energy technology. That's how Congress itself describes the work. You can see the same model across our entire portfolio. Let's take geothermal, for example. Fervo Energy took drilling techniques from the shale field and pointed them straight down into hot rock. Fervo was first funded by RPE in 2019 under the first Trump administration, and this spring, Fervo went public in one of the largest energy IPOs in history, opening above $10 billion. Our current Superhot program is pushing that same approach past 400 degrees Celsius, aiming for a cost under $30 per megawatt hour by 2040, which is competitive with natural gas. Fusion. Earlier this spring, RPE announced that we were putting $135 million into fusion, one of the single largest investments our agency has ever made. A decade ago, there were 12 fusion companies in this country. Today, there are more than 50, backed by billions in private capital that didn't exist 10 years ago and came out of $134 million that RPE has invested since 2012. This includes a new deal between Commonwealth Fusion Systems and Rialta Fusion, potentially worth billions of dollars. Critical minerals. Our rocks, recover, and magneto programs are finding materials inside a fighter jet or an electric motor in American ground instead of depending on processing controlled by our strategic competitors. This year, one of those magnet companies broke on an actual factory on American soil. The grid. Every AI data center draws power like a small city, and hundreds more are coming. Our DC Grids program is funding 5 technologies to expand what our existing transmission lines can carry, because building new lines the old way takes a decade we don't have. AI. The President and Secretary of Wright have leaned into AI. Just look at what we did earlier this week with the Genesis mission. A national endeavor. It's more than just a DOE endeavor. It's more than just a government endeavor. It is a whole of country endeavor where we are bringing together our national laboratories, academia, and the private sector with over $800 million in commitments from our industry partners already to help fund the Genesis Mission Consortium. It is going to be a platform, the best in the world, some will say, that is going to increase our R&D that we spend about 3.4% on in this country on to make it look like we spend 7%. It is going to double our capacity. What we do isn't new for us. We've been integrating AI and machine learning into our programs for more than a decade. Programs like Differentiate embedded AI directly into the engineering design process for next generation energy technologies. And most recently, as I said, Magneto uses AI to accelerate the discovery of advanced materials. Nuclear waste. A company we back called Deep Isolation is burying nuclear waste safely deep underground using the same drilling technique that unlocks shale gas. That company now holds 87 issued patents, which lets this country say yes to more nuclear power with confidence. We hold ourselves to real discipline in all of this. Last year, we ended 14 projects that missed their milestones, protecting more than 10 million taxpayer dollars, and walked away from 70 more that no longer match the country's priorities. At RPE, if the science isn't working, we will not throw good money after bad. If it's been proven that it can't happen, we pivot those dollars into something that is working. This administration's energy dominance agenda is the follow-through on a warning this country received 2 decades ago. Permitting reform, streamlining nuclear licensing, and a Department of Energy willing to fund the frontier again. 20 years ago, the Gathering Storm report said America was losing this race. Judged by what I've just laid out, fusion, geothermal, magnets, and materials built here instead of shipped overseas, I can tell you, we are in a better position today than we have ever been. Under this administration, the pieces are finally in place. The focus is right. The technology priorities are right. The means we are positioned to deliver the abundant, affordable, reliable energy this country needs. Energy to keep American factories running and American data centers powered at the exact moment demand is rising. And that gives us our edge. That is the case for American energy abundance and is already under construction in the projects we are funding today. Thank you.